You're listening to NTParanormal After Dark. Nothing normal about it.
That was super classy, Sarah. Just like sniffing right into the microphone as I unmute everything.
You're gonna sneeze into the microphone and I can't sniff.
Hi, everybody. So we're back for an episode, and we have an online guest. Have Heidy Prestol with us from UnScene Paranormal. There she is. Look, I have her on the camera. She can't see. By the way, it doesn't all look the same to you as it does to us, like in the processing or whatever. But
now I'm seeing it on the live feed now.
Okay. Oh, I need to turn my headphones down so I can hear you better. Okay. So,
there I am.
How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. It's rainy and miserable down here today. How's the weather up in New Jersey?
It's cold. It was like in the 20s today.
I bet it's colder there than it is here.
Yeah. I haven't been that far north. I want to go, and it seems like y'all have really cool places to investigate up there. Because
you guys are if you ever want to come to New Jersey, you have a place to crash. You guys are welcome.
Well, hell, that's half the expense right there.
I'll take you some places.
We'll be there tomorrow. Is that good?
It would take more than that to drive there.
I'll be investigating tomorrow.
So, I can't remember how we initially like crossed paths and started networking. I can't remember if I contacted you or you contacted me or what.
Not at all. I was the one who contacted you. I found an article of yours, and from that article, it linked me to your website, and then I read more of your articles, which were amazing. And then from there, I found you on Facebook.
That sounds like pandering. My articles are not amazing, but
I just followed all the trails until I got to your
mostly
Facebook.
I'm just a sarcastic troll. So you came down a little while back and did kind of a joint investigation thing with us, and that's like that's not the first and only time we've met in person so far, and that was a lot of fun. We live streamed that via the Facebook. It was Facebook, right? Mm-hmm. We did that one on Facebook, and that was a lot of fun. That was a really it was a place we'd investigated like 100 times already and come to the conclusion that it was just lame, but it was a good halfway point. Yep, I didn't make it the full 10 minutes.
I think that was like the most fun I've had during an investigation.
Investigation-wise, that place is always super disappointing to me, but it was a lot of fun, like hanging out with somebody like-minded is sort of thing. But from what I know of your group, I like the way you guys operate. Hey James, how's it going? I like the way you guys operate because where our group is really, really science focused, you guys seem to have a big, strong focus on science, or at least some of you guys do. But you also kind of combine different viewpoints to kind of explore paranormal through like different things. Hey, I should probably change the camera.
Oh, do you have to?
Hey, there's Sarah. Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, Sarah.
How did y'all get?
Our team is very all over the place, especially when it comes to our background and beliefs and everything. I think it helps us look at it from different angles. And we have nice debates all the time.
I've seen a lot of groups where they try to do that, where they try to get a bunch of people with a bunch of different like methods and viewpoints. And sometimes I see it as something that is very useful because you do get all those different viewpoints and you get the good debates. But I also see it as a hindrance sometimes too, because it seems, at least with other groups, I've only watched like one of your investigations so far. I think I was watching it live actually. And I mean, you guys pull it off really well as far as I can tell so far, but I've seen a lot of groups just fall into that pit where they're just like fighting with each other and nobody agrees on anything.
Well, you know what's funny? We're actually a non-team team, if that makes sense.
No, that doesn't make sense, so you should explain it.
So, like, I've been on teams previously. I've tried to run a team. Taz has tried to run a team. Me and Taz are kind of like the main teammates of our group, and everyone else is kind of what we call collaborators. So they're actually people from other teams who just, we become friends with, and it's like we find a place to investigate and they come join us. We even have a medium who is independent and has her own thing who comes and joins us. We have friends. So it's like it's not strictly like they have to be on our team. They're open to do whatever they want on the side, or be on any team.
No, that's really good, because I think that takes a lot of the.
We want to, like, it takes off a lot of the pressure, I think.
I think it takes all the politics out of it, because and that's one of the things that me and you've talked about a lot, is how the different groups are territorial, and there's like all this political maneuvering just to do investigations, and it's really ridiculous.
There was one team where I had to sign a non-compete.
What
contract.
For what?
I have no idea. I'm like, but this is like a hobby. We're not making money or anything. So, like, and the contract stated, like, if I left, I couldn't, like, be on any other team or investigate the tri-state area, which is New Jersey, New York, like Connecticut. And I'm like, yeah, this will never hold up. Yeah. I mean, I signed it, but, like, I'm like, this will never hold up, ever. but some teams go to the lengths of doing that, and, like, having that experience, like, the team I was on was awesome, but, like, having that experience where it's, like, so dictated, I was like, no. And that's why I kind of like the group that I'm in now, because we're very...
Yeah, it's laid back. You can kind of do what you want, because you guys are doing it for fun. Like, you're not trying to get on TV or anything like that.
Hi, Penny.
I usually feel like when we run into the teams that have, like, all these rules and they want you to sign stuff, and they're real up in your business when you get in there, you can tell they're just kind of a paranormal group.
Their goal is to be on TV.
Their goal is to make some kind of, like, TV show at some point.
Yeah, exactly, like a TV show. And I just want to investigate. If we end up on TV, great. But honestly, it's just all about, finding out what more is there. And
I mean, to be fair, like, we've done, like, pilot episodes and dealt with, like, some people for, like, some weird, like, offers and stuff here and there. But for the most part, nobody wants to touch us because, we don't use the psychics or the mediums, and we don't go in and, like...
We're not entertaining.
Yeah, we're not entertaining at all, because we actually go in and investigate, and the only thing entertaining about us is that we're all a bunch of smartasses. So
that's not entertaining enough, to me.
I mean, it is to me. I do it every week. I like it, but...
That's where, Sarah, was it you that like, threw the branch back at my eye?
That was an accident.
Sarah tried to kill you in the woods.
That was
is
an
correct.
accident.
That's entertaining, though.
Did you tell her about the clip with Kristen in the background?
Oh my God! So I was going back through the stuff I haven't.
I didn't see this when she did it.
That we didn't post, but when we were, like, doing our little intro or whatever by the bridge, and I'm like, just being a ham in front of the camera or whatever, I didn't notice, but in the background, Kristen has our parabolic mic, and she's holding it like a gun like that, and she's, like, sneaking across the back and, like, just, like, shooting stuff down like a spy. We totally did not take anything seriously that night.
I'm gonna have to, like, rewatch it now just to see.
It's funny as hell. Like, I'm talking about Paranormal Jackass or something, and she's in the back, like, sneaking around doing her own theme music. It's pretty funny. Okay, so I know y'all are from, like, your group is from a bunch of different groups and all that. So how did that kind of coalesce? How did you get into investigating paranormal stuff, and then how did like the group come to be? Because everybody's got some kind of, this is why I investigate paranormal.
Ever since I was 5, I think I was always reading books on it. Somebody, like, getting a call. I was always reading books on it. So ever since I was 5, I literally was like, I want to be a paranormal investigator when I grow up. Like, I thought it was a real career where you make money and stuff. And then just growing up, doing things on my own. As a kid, you'd, like, test out the Ouija board, and you'd go on, like, ghost hunts with your friends.
No, I didn't.
That was, like, a learning process. And then finally I joined a team. And it's funny how I met Taz. Taz I met in, like, a whole, like, I don't know if I believe in fate, but I swear the universe kept throwing Taz at me for some reason. She's the founder of UnScene. And I met her because she did photography and I actually did like hair and makeup. So through networking that way, I met her, and then a few years later, we found out that we both were interested in the paranormal, and we were both at that time on separate teams. And then finally, we're like, hey, we're like, you like to investigate, I like to investigate, let's investigate together. So that's how that started. But it all started ever since I was little. I had experiences growing up kind of throughout my whole life, so up until now.
What kind of experience? I mean, like, what kind of experiences did? I'm curious, because because you were saying like you started out just kind of like dabbling and doing it as a hobby or whatever, but this is something I didn't get into
I hope you feel better.
until way into my adult life. Until like I had like one definitive experience that kind of it set me on a path, and I happen to know Sara and Allie at the time, and then we like really got into it, but like I know.
But I had a bunch, like, mine wasn't one big experience, like, something that happened that was drastic that made me go, I want to do this. Mine's more of a...
Like, little things.
Yeah,
you sound more like Heidy, whereas me, it was like, I didn't really pay attention to it at all until just one specific thing happened to me. So I'm kind of curious, like, what experiences you had before you were researching
I'm having a technical difficulty. I'm not hearing you guys.
Oh, no. That's horrible. How about now?
You sound far away.
How about now?
I can hear you, but it sounds far. Hold on.
What the heck is going on?
Let's see. I don't know if it's my end.
So the video might look goofy to you on your end, but does that help with the audio? I think it's on her end. Because we're still streaming.
Might need to try hanging up and calling her back.
Oh, that's horrible. It's the most horrible thing
I know, but that
to have to do.
That might be.
We're going to try hanging up and calling you back.
Okay.
Maybe that'll fix it. Which means I need to do like 3 different things on here, so hold on. Okay, I'm going to hang up and call you back.
Sorry, guys.
Hey, you keep talking while I'm doing this.
What should I talk about?
I don't know. Talk about the experiences you had.
Nothing big, just like little stuff as a kid. I got interested super young, like her. Like I was little, like 4 or 5. I remember being interested in that. I think part of it was growing up in a religious house. And then just, little stuff. I thought my mom's house was on it when I was 16. Blah, blah, blah. Footsteps, creepy faces in the mirror, window. That was it. And eventually, I got a car.
Oh, I could hear you guys.
Yay.
Woo!
Okay, that worked.
Making me feel the dead silence.
Yeah, I hate dead air, especially when it goes to like actual podcast, because people are just listening to the audio of this and they're like, God, did this happen on this show again? Just 2 hours of not talking.
Hey, the electricity went out on my show.
That happens. That's what you get.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so I'm curious, what personal experiences did you have that were profound enough that made you go, okay, I really want to like investigate this?
I guess it's going back to when I was little. I used to actually always see the same girl in my room for years, and it's funny because looking back, I could almost see her clear as day now. But what was weird about that was I had become friends with this other girl, and we actually used to dream about the same girl. Like, she would show up in our dreams, and she would say a number. And every day when we met up at school, we'd be like 1, 2, 3, and we would shout out the number, and it'd always be the same number. Like, that would occur.
Well, that's the first time I've ever heard something halfway convincing. Like, I mean, she could be lying, I don't know. But if that's true, wow.
But that for me, that kind of started me off because my friend, the girl who I guess I was maybe like 11 or 12 when I met her, and she actually she was a little odd. It was funny because we were like best friends, but like she used to do like have like voodoo dolls, and like she kind of opened me up to like the metaphysical side, I guess you would call it, on that. Like I used to read all the books on like the science end, and she kind of and it's funny because my dad kind of was the one that kind of drew me to at that time it would be like sci-fi, so he used to watch all the UFO shows and stuff, and I kind of like branched off to like more paranormal, like ghost stuff. But from there,
I think Sarah was just addicted to the X-Files.
To the X-Files? Yeah, I was too.
Because you had feelings for Mulder.
No, I just love the X-Files. Like I think 11 or 12, I was just obsessed.
Yes.
It was bad.
I think the X-Files also kind of like, I was like, I'm like, I could do this as like real life.
That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a profiler with the FBI so I could be Mulder.
I mean, working for me. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you do? So what do you do outside of paranormal investigation? Because that plays a big part in it. Because like the very first time you contacted, I know the article that you had read because you were, and I think you're still picking apart this like one particular app, like trying to debunk it and all that. Because it
is like the app that like my whole team argues about.
On the record, like if I have a voice to weigh in on it, that app is garbage.
Is it the one you were using at the bridge?
It is.
I couldn't even tell what it was doing.
I'm not gonna say too much, but I've already opened up the APK source.
I know you sent me some of the code for it, and I'm like, that's crap.
Yeah, well, I actually looked into it more, and it does. So when the program's not even on, it's still running in the background. So it's always open.
Yeah, it records. Yeah. What it's doing is it's recording random sounds or whatever, and when it basically detects anything that's like speech, it stores it to play back at a random time, so that when you're asking questions, you get back random responses, but they correlate to the things you're saying or whatever, because it's basically recorded like bits of speech.
What I find dodgy about all these things is we assume ghosts can work electronics.
Like, I can't even work my phone half the time. Why would I expect a dead person to be able to do it?
My grandma just got her first iPhone, and I know she's not going to know how to work it. So...
But but like you said, you pulled apart the API. What's like your real life background, like outside of the world of paranormal?
Well, for over 9 years, I did work in IT as director of operations, so I managed all the IT techs and stuff like that. Then I started going to school for information system security, so cybersecurity, forensic, digital forensics and stuff like that. Now I'm a nanny. Now I take care of kids, but that's just, I do whatever I can for my daughter. So whatever works around that schedule. So nanny life. But I've never stopped, wanting to research IT stuff and everything like that. That'll always be.
No, I mean, that's really cool because, I mean, as far as me, like, I'm the technical person in our group. I'm an engineer.
I do not understand electronics.
And that's the article you read because I think you were doing research on that EchoVox app, and I had written it. I had basically been in a similar argument with another group about whether or not phone apps can be ghost detectors or like however the hell you want to word it, but it was a pretty scathing article.
I really love that you actually contacted like LG and Samsung and got a written response back from them. I'm like,
I mean, don't be too impressed. That's mainly because I'm an asshole. That has a lot to do with it. Is like I can't stand not being right, and if I know I'm right, then I'm gonna do that and then write an article, and then I ended up
shame you publicly.
Yeah, I ended up getting banned out of like 3 groups because of that. But nobody works with those groups anymore. Like at the end of the day, the only thing I think we have is our
This
credibility.
one app that we were looking into, we got like torn apart. Like people were like attacking us left and right, and I'm like, dude, I even try to like, I always try to meet a middle ground. I'm like trying to like be like, okay, I can explain this app away, no problem. But I'm also leaving room where I'm like, well, maybe, you know, it can influence, you know, the electronics, and maybe people can get sentenced and stuff. I'm like, but I just wanted people to be careful on how they word their questions.
You're much nicer than we are.
That's the point I was trying to make. But like, people were just attacking us left and right. I'm like, oh my god.
No, I remember going through that thread, and the stuff they were their side of the argument was so stupid. Like if they had even posed it in a mildly different way, I could have maybe seen another side of it. But the fact of the matter is, and like especially in my argument, because they were talking about the phone detecting EMF and basically being a ghost detector. I'm like, there's nothing in the phone that can do that, because they're basing it off the accelerometer, and it's just so frustrating because it's a bunch of people arguing about something that they don't even understand. They don't understand the technology that's in there. Anyway, that's why I thought y'all were cool when.
As much as possible, like all we did was like say a word and see if it would repeat throughout a session. So we said like banana, and literally it said banana, and it would say banana again 20 minutes later, and it would say banana again like the next day. And I'm like, it's creating temporary word files through the mic input and like reusing the words that you've already said. And we got people saying, no, that's the ghost saying banana. You don't understand that the spirit's talking to you. I'm like, no, I really don't think a spirit's saying banana to me. I'm sorry.
It just... Logic is so hard to just like common sense is not so common.
It bothers me that you can't just reach into someone's brain and make them see the things like you see them.
I mean, we're no stranger to getting a flame too, because you know, being a science research group, we don't use psychics or mediums or anything like that, and we get flamed a lot because it's like, well, you don't believe in anything. It's like, no, we just can't prove that one way or the, well, really, a lot of times we can disprove it, but you can't really say one way or the other. Like the data's not reliable, so it doesn't fit into our box of what specifically we're researching. And people get really up in arms when you try to be technical about the whole thing.
Yeah. We try to meet a middle ground. Like we have the technical side, but we do use the metaphysical side. I've actually even decided upon myself to take courses on the metaphysical side of all that, and just to like kind of open my mind about like everything. And we actually do have a medium, April, who we collaborate with, and you know, I can't really say too much on the medium side. I've met a bunch of people who are, you know, that I call them what are they, gypsy psychics, where all they do
that's
is
racist.
take your money.
That's racist.
Well, you know what's funny? Because like other mediums will even say, "Oh no, they're gypsy psychics. They're like the type of people who will like take you for every like single cent you have."
What would you say the ultimate goals of y'all's group are, or if you guys have a goal outside of just we want to go to cool, scary places?
I think each of us have a different goal, really. Like for me, it's just you know, whether I prove to the world or one person, it's just trying to see if there's more out there. Just trying to also help people who are experiencing something, whether if I can explain it away or just confirm that, hey, this is what's going on and things like that. Only because like I've been in situations where like I've had unexplainable things happen to me, and it's kind of comforting when you meet someone else where it's like, oh no, like, yeah, something is off, something is, you know, happening.
So you sound like you're more on the like you believe in spirits side of it. Obviously, because you've had experiences and you keep going with
I call myself a rational believer. Like I'm a believer, but I also don't believe like every creak and sound.
Right, you're really selective about what you call. So has your experience since you guys started investigating, has it changed your outlook on things that happened to you before you were investigating, like the things that, like seeing the little girl in your room or any other thing, like, cause I asked that because I know, like, with me, right? Like, my very first experience, it was super profound. And after that, I was like, oh, ghosts are a thing. Ghosts are a thing. And then, like, 15 investigations later, I was like, okay, well, something might still be a thing, but I'm not really on board with ghosts, and I don't necessarily think that super awesome, profound thing that happened to me was really what I thought it was at the time.
Yeah. Well, I kind of find, I mean, not that it's discouraging. I think with especially home investigations, I'm able to explain away a lot more.
God, yeah. Yeah, residentials are like, we love doing residentials, and we like hearing the stories and talking with the people. But 99 out of 100 residentials are, hey, you need some home repair. It's like it's always that.
Yeah, that you know, and it's funny because like I have stuff happen in my own house where I'm like, I don't know. But at the same time, like I can't explain. I don't know if it's just like I become biased because it's my own house. Whereas like I could go in someone else's house and be like, oh no, you gotta like talk to an electrician, or you know, you gotta.
Yeah, you sent me that video. She has like these recessed lights in her house, and like one was like flickering or whatever.
It's actually this room.
Well, I got the front door thing at my house.
Well, it was okay. So I'm not saying it was or wasn't paranormal, and it was interesting the way she sent me the video, because the first one you sent me where you're showing it, that's like 100 videos I get from like random people all the time, and I'm just like, oh God. But the light's like flickering, and so you know I gave her a little leeway because we know her, right? We're like, okay, she's not totally insane, but it's like flickering, and it's kind of weird or whatever. So she takes a really good approach to it. She took that bulb out and took a bulb out of one that was working and put it in there to show that it wasn't the fixture doing it. And then she took that bulb that was in there and put it in another fixture, and it stopped flickering. And then she had also checked to see if it was like wiggling. And I had actually sent her like a list of, okay, you need to do this, 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 and this. And she went through the whole thing and couldn't reproduce it. So even though I don't necessarily think it was
an electrician, so, and I even called, I'm like, hey, you know, there would be a reason for this to happen. And
I mean, I wish that the people that called us out on residential investigation, like, even though I still, you know, I'm not like, oh, that was definitely paranormal because she did all that. I really wish the people that called us on residential investigations at least went through that process of elimination first before, you know, they're like, well, the lights flicker all the time, and then we go in there and just like wiggle the light bulb, and we're like, yeah. Of course it does.
Taryn says
like I kind of went in as an investigator because I'm just like, hold on, let me like do these tests before I start freaking out.
Yeah. Taryn said, tell them about the lady with the electrical box.
Oh, that lady.
Now we're just telling residential horror stories. We've probably, both of our groups have dealt with at least 30 crazy people. Okay, so what's with the electrical box?
So it was this lady who called us in, said, you know, she would see black shadows. She would have, her and her boyfriend were experiencing nightmares, and, you know, they felt sick and everything like that. And a lot of that could be explained away by high EMFs. Every place I go into, I always do a base reading, like, just to rule that out. This lady's house, the EMFs were so high, Taryn was actually scared to plug anything in. She's like, no. Like, and we're like, I feel like we're going to get cancer just standing in this house. Like, it was, like, off the charts.
That's
like,
what happened at my mom's house.
Yeah.
Like, that was
the
awful.
bathtub was giving a reading. There was, like, it was just, like, high, the middle of the bed was giving, and then we went down to the basement, and I found, like, I was able to even follow the whole wiring, and it was like this wiring that wasn't properly grounded. It looked really old, and I'm like, you need an electrician. I'm like, we can't even run our equipment because, you know, some of our equipment's sensitive to EMS. So I'm like, we can't even do a proper investigation until you get this looked into. I'm like, and I told him, like, I'm not dismissing what you're experiencing, but, you know, some people are sensitive to high EMFs, and that might help your nightmares, that or the black shadows that you're seeing and stuff like
Right.
that.
Oh yeah, that was all the symptoms I had at my mom's house.
Yeah, I've always been really high because I mean, the high EMF thing is pretty widely known, but it's still not. The study isn't wide enough that it's been proven, and I was always super skeptical of it until we really started doing a lot of work with Sara, and Sara is really sensitive to EMFs. Like if there's high EMF, it'll make her sick. And I don't know if it's due to your chronic illness. Or
because I lived in the house with the highest EMFs on the planet.
I don't
for 3
know,
years.
but I mean, 9 times out of 10, if there's high EMF, she'll start feeling sick, and that's even before we ever take a reading. And so I am kind of, it did sway me into the mode of thinking to say, okay, high EMFs will affect your brain waves. And I mean, it makes sense, but I don't think it just instantly makes people sick. And I definitely don't think it's a way to detect ghosts. Like that just infuriates me to no end when I'm watching ghost hunters like go around. Oh, the EMF spike. Well, no crap. You're moving around. It's like that's how that works. There are EMFs everywhere. Even places without electricity, you're going to run into EMFs. And EMF detectors don't even really detect true EMF.
That was Antioch where we were getting a reading and it was the iron fence.
Yeah, there's a freaking iron ferrite pole like dug into the ground. It's like, maybe it's magnetic. Duh. You know, you learn things as you go, I think.
Yeah. I actually I was talking to Taz, and I actually wanted to do a video where we tested like EMF, getting EMF spikes around certain metals like steel, iron, like things like that, and demonstrate how it could affect your equipment. Like
hell, the one that really irritates me is when people are getting EMF readings off the equipment that they're using to hunt ghosts. Like
we watched that video with one dude literally sitting at his computer running the
that
EMF
was Ben.
in front. I know, I wasn't using his name.
I don't care. Screw him. He's in jail now.
The ghost followed me home.
Yeah, he's got the EMF. He's
God.
editing his ghost video, and then he's pointing the EMF detector at
the computer,
the screen, and he's like, "Look at the high EMFs." It's like, what is wrong with you, dude? But I did that video right after the Needful Things investigation of just the little digital recorder was setting off the EMF detector even when it was off because there's a magnet in it. There's pretty much everything that we use has magnetism. That's why we don't use it as part of the investigation. Oh, we've got questions. Holy crap, people are watching this?
Yep.
Do you think it's possible for negative spirits to follow one person around? Kendra asks. We'll let you answer. You're the guest. Do you think it's possible for negative spirits to follow a person around?
It's weird to generalize it to just negative because I can't determine whether or not, if I go to a place and things happen to me at home, whether it's negative or not. I think generally whether I think a spirit can follow you back home. I mean, I've had instances. I went to Waverly Hills in Kentucky, and
you suck, by the way.
I want to go back. So if you guys want to take a road trip, let's go. But when my team got back, for a week straight, all of us, like in our homes, or at our jobs, in our cars, were experiencing like crazy electrical interferences. Like our car radio would be, turned up super high, or our TVs or DVD player would turn on and off, and like we'd call each other and be like, this happened here, and they're like, oh, this happened to me today. And it literally went on for a week straight and died. And then like it stopped. And that was right after we got back from Waverly Hills. Now is that coincidental? I don't know.
I don't know if spirits actually.
I don't think it was negative. But
I don't know. I don't. First off, I really don't even believe in like spirits or ghosts so much, not in the sense that most people do anyway. But I don't know that they follow you around. I've only ever had one instance where anything like happened after an investigation, and it's when my cabinets kept opening up. But I kind of rationalized that away as either I was just leaving them open or my cats were getting in and out of them, which is uncharacteristic of them, so it was kind of weird. Yeah. But you had the stuff happen at the apartment after the whole exorcism ordeal, which was pretty nuts.
I don't know, but I have no clue. I don't believe in ghosts like normal, like when people say ghosts.
But
but that was weird.
But for the purpose of discussion on it, if you feel like a spirit can actually like follow you around, or something can follow you from an investigation,
if they exist, I don't see why they couldn't.
But that denotes intelligence, is the thing, and that's where I was going with it. Like it can like move around and thinks and does stuff, and I just. We have documented things that could possibly be paranormal, but the two things we've documented is if it seems like it's human, it never seems like it's intelligent. It seems more like a recording or a residual. And then if it actually seems like it's intelligent, it never seems like it's human. It seems like something else. We've coined alien because we don't like demon, because we don't think in those terms. But if any... But based on that conclusion,
when you do EVP sessions, if you ask a question and you get an answer back that like relates to it, would you think that's something that's intelligent then?
It depends.
That thing at Kyle has some brains.
Oh my God, that thing is scary, and we're not going to mention it ever again. No. So for the purpose of like investigation, we have to be able to repeat results. So. If we're able to consistently get responses that actually relate to what we're asking, then yes, we kind of denote intelligence. And the places that's happened has been Kyle and Needful Things. Actually, those are the two places where we got responses back, and it at least appeared to be intelligent. Like it could still be coincidence.
In a lot of places, we'll get one or two answers that seem like they might relate to the question, but then the rest are just.
Yeah, it's like you may get a lot of responses, but you really have to connect the dots and force it to fit. And we try not to do that because we see a lot of investigators go, it said knife. It has to mean that it was stabbed with a knife when it was alive. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
no, you asked it what its name was. Like, you're cheating. So, and very, very rarely we've ever got what we even feel as intelligent responses, and we really haven't gotten any evidence that it's for sure intelligent.
Yeah.
Well, I only asked because there was one place that me and Taz went to in Nutley, Kingsland Manor, and we were legitimately like having, and it wasn't like a conversation almost, using both the K2 and the obelisk, like using the blinking lights for yes, no, how old, like questions like that. We didn't ask the questions because we actually didn't know too much about the history of the place. So the person who ran Kingsland asked all the questions and confirmed each answer, and each answer was correct. Like every time it went to red, it was yes or whatever. And that was actually the first time we had anything that was really responsive in that sense. What was weird though is we actually didn't catch any. Well, did we? I think we may have caught an EVP, but it was mainly using the equipment to kind of, I guess, manipulate it to respond to our questions. But it was like kind of always on point. So when it used the equipment, we weren't stretching our answers like, it's like, oh, it said this. We didn't hear what it said. We were just basing on the lights going off and kind of simplifying the questions as like yes, no, or saying a number and things like that. And we used multiple, like we used the K2 and the obelisk, and usually they worked in conjunction with each other. So whenever there was like a spike on the K2, a word on the obelisk, which a lot of the times correlated with the questions that we asked, which then we thought was pretty interesting and weird. Like, we'd be like, oh, how many people are here? And it actually said a number like through the obelisk, and we're like, okay, that's cool. Kind of weird.
Well, see, okay, I like that. Like, if you ask a specific question, get a specific. Yeah. Like, I hate yes no questions. I don't like. I don't. There's too much. Well, specifically for what we do, I'm not saying it's wrong for other groups to do that. I mean, we do, but when we're going through like our verification sort of thing, and we're like yes no questions are usually really bad. I hate word banks because they're just random. But it is interesting that like how many people are in this room and you get the exact correct answer.
Yeah. Well, Taryn wants me to bring up, so that same place while we were doing the questioning, we actually, we had the Connect set up, and we tested that Connect specifically. We tested, like, what would cause, we tested, like, having it in front of a chair, like, having it pointed in front of a chair with, like, a backpack on it to see if it would read it as a person. We've done those tests and things like that. But there was, at that same place while we were doing, like, having this, I guess, conversation, we asked it, we're like, oh, you know, show yourself. And as soon as we said it, the Connect showed that blip of someone, like, standing in this empty space. And it did it twice. We were able to recreate it. We, you know, a little bit later, we asked it to do it again, and that blip, and that was the only time it ever showed up was when we asked. That we
you know, if
like,
it was any other group, I'd be shredding.
I think it's because up north has cooler places to ghost hunt. I blame it on them having cooler ghosts.
Like in the past 10 minutes, you've mentioned every piece of equipment I hate.
I know.
It's okay.
Trust me,
I'm
like,
only mildly
you know,
judging you.
I like the
we were wary about the Connect, but that's why we ran tests before we used the Connect, because we wanted to see, you know, the distance, like how far it can read someone. We try to see, like, what would cause it to go off to, you know,
I've done it specifically with the Connect. I've done a lot of work with the SDK on it, and it's so easy to trick, because it basically all it does is it maps in 5 random points, and as long as they're within a certain ratio to each other, it's going to map it out as a person.
Well, and I think the obvious is fun, but my question was, how would a ghost know how to bring up a specific word?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's my like, I can't make it do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not shredding you guys. Like in your story, you know, you're asking for a specific thing and you're getting a specific response at a certain time. That is interesting. I mean, that is an interesting result.
And have nothing to do with, you know, what we're asking. Like, and we usually we're like, we kibosh that. You know, with the one obelisk that we do have, it shows like a signal strength. So
is that the one you had at the bridge?
No. The one that I own, I hate actually.
Yeah, because Sarah was able to make it just spit out words on purpose.
Yeah.
We actually debunked that.
It was fun though. I liked it.
The one that Taryn has, she has like the super rare one, the Obelisk 3. Hers like will show a signal strength of, I guess, like whatever reading the EMF that it's picking up. So usually when it's low, it's just kind of just going through random words that it's spitting out. But most of the time when it's high, like if the point like goes all the way across, the word is like 99% of the time like accurate to whatever we're talking about.
That's cool.
So the signal strength like goes all the way up. Most of the time, the word that comes up is the one that, you know, we're trying to, you know, ask it about.
Yeah, when things like that happen, we're less inclined to doubt it, especially at the time it's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, we've jacked around with word banks, and if it was, the problem is anytime we've messed around with them or pulled them apart or anything like that, all the phone app versions of it, I've gone into the programming and seen that, okay, this is rigged to give a random response that has like nothing to do with outside influence. And then with the like standalone ones, I've never ever got a legitimate like response to a question or anything that really related that made any sense.
Hers is the only time I've used a standalone one.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, just in what we do, we deal in like specifics. You know, it's like if you can't find a trend in the data, then there's no trend. But I mean, we've had so many things happen where, you know, my gut's like, okay, there's something going on. This place is creepy. Well, the freaking jail, you know, I had my arm grabbed. I've got whistled at upstairs. I didn't like being blind, you know, but as far as like hard evidence or anything, there's just not a lot to be found. And that's fine too. But crap.
But even now, even if you had hard evidence, it's so someone can easily say, hey, I could totally recreate this and manipulate it using, you know, a program. So nowadays it's also really hard to prove that your hard evidence is evidence.
I think a lot of times in our case, it's more for us. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, it's more for
and
me.
that's what you should do it for. Like, it's
Yeah.
for your own personal, like, experience. People believe you, great. People don't.
Because
Who
anyone can
cares?
fake
Like, it's
anything.
Yeah.
Just about. But I feel like we throw out so much of the stuff that's questionable that you're only left with certain amounts of things. Our goals are very different than the goals of other groups. Like
We toss 99% of our evidence.
yeah. It's even stuff that we think is legitimate, but if it can't stand alone on itself without us having to sell it, then it's not part of like the presentation.
The best stories we have no evidence.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God, the scariest thing we ever saw. It's like it may as well not exist.
Yeah.
But shit. I had ask a question. Do something.
Like what?
I don't. Be useful.
What's your favorite investigation?
Useful.
Oh my God.
I'm just gonna ask
Favorite?
the questions everybody in the audience always asks. What's your favorite investigation?
Waverly.
The one we want. I've always.
Yeah.
I saw that on like ghost hunting shows back in the day, and I wanted to go there so.
Oh, I love
bad.
any abandoned building. Like it doesn't even have to be
recommend
haunted.
it. I really want to go back because there was actually. I'm usually not like I will walk into the dark like and not be scared except for the woods and animals. I'm more afraid of that. But when it comes to like abandoned buildings and stuff, I'm usually not afraid of the dark or going into places by myself. But there was like an entire third floor I couldn't even like step into at Waverly. It was like a wall was up. I was able to go on all the above floors, the below floors, but the third floor, it's just like a brick imaginary wall that
See, I feel like that kind of thing might
Nope.
actually exist, but I would never know because I have no feeling for that at all.
Yeah.
Like I get
Well,
scared or
that's
wigged
why I
out,
want to go
but
back and like challenge it, but like, no, I want to go on the third floor. That's the first floor I want to go on, and see why. Like I even felt that way because
I don't know. I trust my instincts a lot of the times. If my instinct says don't go in there, probably not gonna go in there.
but what do we do?
Go in there.
I asked the owners about the third floor, and they're like, "Oh no, people usually like get hurt, and they feel like there's like a darker entity there, like this huge black shadow that like goes after people." And I was like, but I asked after I felt that, like, so I didn't know.
I don't trust anybody that owns a building to tell me anything about the building.
Yeah.
Like when we went to like the first time we went to Tyler to go do the Paranormal Expo, like I went up to like go get our hotel room, and they're like, "Oh, are you in town for the Paranormal Expo?" And we're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, you got the haunted room." And I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome." And then like 10 minutes later, we were down in the lobby, and like the next people walked up, and I overheard the conversation. Like, "Oh yeah, you're in the room where all the cool stuff happens." Well, and like, "Oh, I get it. I see the game.
Yeah.
I understand."
Well,
now.
I actually am the one that does a lot of the background research to the locations we go to and the historical stuff.
How do you handle that? I know y'all aren't super science based, but you guys do a lot of controls. Do you check up on places before you guys go in and share it with your group, or?
I am the only one that does.
Okay.
So everyone
Similar to
else goes
us.
in blind. I'm the one that does all the background research and like kind of confirms everything that happens.
So you're by the time you go in, you're completely tainted. Like we can't trust anything you say at all.
Nope.
It's the rest of the group's experience that
Yeah.
we're interviewing the wrong people is what she's telling us.
Well, and it's funny because they're, the last, a previous team I was on, like, if I couldn't, make it to the investigation, I would still do all the background research. And I especially do them for residentials. And I don't just look at the house. I I become like a private investigator, and I find out stuff about the people. And
Mhm.
I've found out stuff about people where I'm just like, watch out with this person because they're claiming that, they can't leave their house and it's super haunted and they're stuck there, and then I find them on some forum trying to purchase another haunted house. And I'm like, obviously you had the money to leave.
we had a problem with somebody in our group who was selling allegedly haunted items on eBay and saying that we had verified they were haunted, and I found out about it. That
was awkward.
That was extremely awkward, and now that person like doesn't go to any of the same places we go to anymore.
Avoid each other.
So so you do a lot of the history stuff. Do you guys have like special jobs in your group or anything? Like we kind of all do a little bit of everything, but we kind of divide up different pieces of the investigation between us to kind of be like more efficient and kind of spread the knowledge. I mean, do you have like a specific job? Does Taryn have like a specific job?
We have like, I guess it's funny, it's never really been discussed. It's just, I guess, the jobs we took on. Like Taryn knows a lot about photography and filming, so that's her major, and she's also the one that kind of tears apart everything, like every finding and things like that. So she's usually the one in charge of filming, the editing, the kind of the one that questions every evidence that comes in.
I actually just bought a camera off of her and modded it like last week.
Oh yeah, the one that she thinks where you got sick.
Oh yeah, I bought that camera off of Taryn, and she was sick before, and then I got sick like a day after I got it in the mail. So she thought she sent germs over here.
She boxed germs.
Yeah. Julie wants to know, when you do background research, how do you sort out misinformation and rumor from facts? Where do you get your info? Just the internet.
Don't hear me, Chris. So I use the internet because it actually helped me differentiate the rumors and the facts. I try to look up as much news articles as I can, especially if are going to the library. I try to find out. I mainly try to find out as many news articles regarding a location, but then I also look back. So a lot of the times, especially with historical sites, people kind of stop at the most infamous family that lived there, and they're like, it's haunted by this family and only this family. I try to go back further to where back to what the land was and who lived on the land and things like that. So I go back to Native Americans and things like that. I try to go even further back because I'm like, how do you know it's just this family? It could be
Are there any special places you go either online or physically to do that research? Because when I first started, it just basically started with just Google searches, but then I found out really quickly that if you want to do any kind of good research at all, you kind of have to invest some money into it. So I have a premium membership at newspapers.com where you can go all the way back through all the newspapers to the 1800s. And then I go through genealogy records and stuff. I'm just kind of curious.
They have the websites that I've paid for where you could see everyone who's died in that house.
Diedenhouse.com. Yeah, I use that one too.
I even just use what is it? Is it not Zillow, but you can trace back all the families that it's something kind of like Zillow, but
I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Ancestry.com.
It lets me know, it confirms, because sometimes I'll also do the interview process for residentials and stuff, and I'll go back and look at the purchase history of the house and things like that to confirm okay, this person lived here, this person, and get all the last names and names of that. So it's a lot of real estate stuff and news articles.
I find the real estate stuff to be the most reliable, the diedenhouse.com thing, because even if it doesn't turn up anybody died there, it shows every previous owner for that property. And then if you go and do a search for every name on that list, it kind of branches out from there, and then you end up down this weird rabbit hole. When I was doing the research for Needful Things, it was so cool because I ended up basically looking at the entire history of these two main families of Granbury and found this sub history of Granbury about the people that ran the commerce and all that, and figured out where some of the people live now. And it was through the newspaper stuff where we actually found a lot of the history that wasn't actually in the records of the property.
Yeah.
Patrick has a question.
Not to look, don't use Wikipedia.
No, Wiki's great. I love Wiki, especially like when you just look up like Bigfoot and then do a podcast on it. Do you guys just do? Do you guys just do like supernatural, or do you guys go investigate like
UFOs?
UFOs abducted me, or I found Bigfoot in my backyard.
We actually tried to branch off, okay, and
I tried to franchise.
To branch off, and because we were actually one day, like all of us were kind of discussing like what UFOs and like the New Jersey Devil or Bigfoot and stuff like that, and we're like, hey, we should look into this too, just open it up. So we actually tried to do UFO hunting, I guess you want to call it, and we went out to Maine to where's that site where those two people got abducted. It's like a main highway there. I forgot the name of the couple, but it's
Betty and Barney Hill.
Yes, that one. So
we did a podcast on them.
Or we listened to a podcast on them.
No, we also did a podcast on them.
So we went out there and we tried to talk to people and, ask them questions. A lot of people led us to, I'm sorry, like my memory's going. They led us to the one mountain that's out there. It's like the highest mountain on the Northeast. And that there's like a military site around there. We couldn't find any military base. Like we tried driving around everywhere. We couldn't find it. But we decided to it was funny because we were planning on hiking, and when we got there, we're like, oh, you can drive up? Okay, let's do that. So we drove up, but it was hard to kind of like, what do you bring? What do you do? So we went up to the mountain and realized we were too high, that we were actually up in the clouds, and it was really windy, and really, you couldn't see anything, and I'm like, well, this isn't really going to work for a UFO hunting. So we came back down, and we're like, okay, let's just, go into the woods and, hike these woods that people
this is a great idea.
So then we go into the woods, and then realize it's so, there were so many trees that you couldn't even see the sky, and I'm like, well, this was a fail too. I'm like, and all we had was a camera, because I'm like, well, what do you bring to do that? So it's something I'd like to continue doing, but I definitely need to do more research on the proper way of doing all this.
Proper way to find aliens.
I went out.
Proper way of UFO hunting.
After that big deal happened in Stephenville, I went out. When the guy that was at the convention, he was talking about that UFO in Stephenville. That was a big deal, in Cleburne and all the towns.
I remember.
And I sat outside of town in my car forever, and I was like, I'm just staring at the sky. There's no point in this.
Yeah.
I used to be a hardcore believer in UFOs because I thought I kept seeing them for a little while. I'd be driving down the road and I'd see this silver disc, and I'm like, holy crap, there it is again. No one's gonna believe me. And I kept seeing it, and then it happened at different times. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I couldn't figure it out. And then one day I was driving down, I can't remember what highway I was on. I was heading out past your house or something, and I saw it out of the corner of my eye. I'm like, there it is, and it would go away, and it would come back, and it would go away, and it would come back. And suddenly I started to realize that it was in between all the electrical poles, and what I was actually seeing was the glint of the sun hitting off the lines, and it makes a perfect silver disc. And so I went back to places where I had seen it before and did this, and it made it happen. I was like, I'm so stupid.
I say, yeah, Julie mentioned she wants a follow-up to the Marfa lights. That's the big one we have in Texas, is the lights out in the desert that everybody sees and no one can explain.
He has got really good footage of the Marfa lights because we zoomed in really close on him. Or, he did, but, he let me go over the footage. And it doesn't just look like lights. It looks like movement, like a tumbleweed made out of, electricity. It's
cool.
It's really nuts. I would love to go out to Marfa. That would be great. What would be like? What would be an investigation like you've always wanted to do? Like we really want to go to There's a bunch of places we want to go. Waverly Hills would be freaking awesome.
Like dream investigation.
Yeah. What would be like the place that you want to go more than any other place right now?
Probably either Europe or Ireland, and like check out the castles.
Oh yeah, that would be
there,
freaking awesome.
Catacombs and things like that. That would be like my dream place.
Yeah, I'd really want to check out the Tower of London because it's just supposed to be like nuts.
We can put you in the oubliette.
No, because it makes me think of the movie Labyrinth, which makes me sad.
I've never seen Labyrinth.
You're a horrible person, that's why. So you're coming down to Texas this year again, right?
Yeah.
We were talking.
I'll be coming back down multiple times. Yeah.
There was one place that you mentioned that was down here that we were kind of. I can't. It's in Garland. No, am I wrong?
I don't remember.
Gainesville.
In Gainesville, yeah.
Gainesville. Hill House Manor. Is that what it was? We were talking about maybe doing that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. My parents just moved to Gainesville. My mom saw a news article about it, and she's like, "Hey, we have a haunted place around here."
Yeah. We had heard a couple. I remember where I heard about it. It was at the first A.W. Perry place we went, and we had the douchebag on the left of us that was like, "Oh, I'm the best investigator ever," and then we had the people on the right who were pretty cool. And the person asked if anybody had specifically been out there, and the guys on the right were like, "Yeah, it was an interesting place. It was pretty cool. We got some responses, wherever." And then douchebag on the left was like, "It's the most haunted place ever." Yeah,
I didn't like that guy.
that's where I heard. That's where I decided I really didn't like other paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
I don't get along with anybody. I'm surprised you're talking to us at all. What?
So yeah, I was nervous going. You were like, another investigator is coming to town. We're gonna go. So I was like, oh no, Brad's gonna get in a fist fight.
I have this bad habit of pissing off everybody I talk to. I'm getting better. Not much. I mean, you were like, "Hey, we use the Kinect," and I immediately had to say I don't like the Kinect. And
You got to control your facial expressions better too.
I don't. What?
Like, we were at something and there was a chick that was talking about all her psychic stuff, and you just literally rolled your eyes. Like, I texted you, I was like, Brad, stop. Stop it.
You know what it is? I think because those things don't faze me, so I'm like, I can take sarcasm. I don't mind it. Like, I love that you guys are jackasses. It's great.
It ended up being a lot like I was nervous for no reason. New people also just scare me.
I love meeting strangers, as you can tell. I went to
so
area, I had no idea. Like, I don't know Texas, and I'm like, yeah, I'll totally meet you guys, like, by myself.
Yeah, you two should get along really well because neither one of you guys like pause for a minute and think, "Hey, somebody might be trying to murder me in the wood." Yeah, just come on down to Texas. We'll meet up at this like old bridge where people have died. Okay, that sounds cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll
and
do
I
that.
just followed those teenagers into the woods. I do not think before I act.
So, what were your thoughts on Alton Bridge? Like after we like paraded you around there and completely ruined any chances of investigating.
I mean, the lore is cool. The stories. It's hard. It's just hard to investigate because it's become such I guess a touristy spot.
Yeah, that's the problem with the really cool.
I would totally camp out there like those kids we found. They're like, yeah, we camp out here all the time. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. We've been out there and seen campfires and stuff.
I think what freaked me out the most were like, because you were like, oh yeah, there's like, be careful of the wild boar, and I'm like, one's gonna come running out at me. Like,
and that's how I know you don't run. You don't run from the wild boar.
My plan's always just to push somebody at it.
And then you're like, yeah, there's coyote, but they're well fed, so it's
good.
No problem. I'm like, oh, okay.
Mostly we ran into a big fat possum last time we were out there. I wanted to catch
That's
it.
probably what was walking in that like brush that we kept like hearing those footsteps. And I'm like, that sounds loud and really close.
Really fat raccoon.
I think Patrick's head's gonna freaking explode if I don't bring up the snacks.
Oh my god. Okay, so my other job for our group is I'm the official snack lady because I'm a mom. And I always bring food and snacks to like every road trip and investigation. I'm like, does everybody have enough snacks and food? I'm like, come on guys, I brought stuff.
She didn't bring any snacks to our investigation.
Hey, because we ate beforehand.
That doesn't mean you get to jip out on snacks and goodies. I bought you a hamburger. I should at least get, like, gummy bears.
I wasn't in my element. I'll bring snacks next time.
We all have a sour candy problem.
Oh, my God.
We all eat it until our mouths are just raw.
Sour Skittles just destroy me now. Like, I can't stop. What was that I was eating the other day?
It was warheads, like tiny warheads.
I, like, dumped the whole box in my mouth and just, like, cried. And I'm like, it's so good.
I don't know why we do that.
Our favorite game on the weekend really is just we'll type cemetery into Google Maps and then just drive to random locations. And most of the time that just makes us end up in these like really trashy
trailer parks with no way out, and
Yeah.
there's just people staring
like
at you.
shirtless meth heads just like
I keep hearing like cemeteries are the most like least haunted
Facts.
like locations. Like you will never get. I haven't really gone to a cemetery, so I don't know.
I like cemeteries. That was how like.
Cemeteries are cool.
Yeah,
but
I didn't start with like ghosts. I started with doing gravestone rubbings, and so I just knew where all the cemeteries were. So when we were first starting, it was so easy to just go out and do that because we already knew where they all were. We've only found like one cemetery that had anything legit, and it's not because a cemetery was there. It's because something happened on the land.
Like,
but
I used to really campaign and rail against the idea that cemeteries could be like anything could be going on there, but I've kind of changed my opinion about it a little bit. Only on the not because it's a cemetery, only on the basis of it's one of the oldest like.
a lot of towns were started around the cemetery.
Or at least down here. And maybe it's not the same, but it's, the first two things that always go into a new settlement
Church,
or
cemetery.
church, school, and cemetery. So it's always one of the oldest areas. And usually, like, if there was some kind of, like, conflict to get into the area, it's wherever the most people, like, died. That's where they just, like, buried them.
Consistently, the story in Texas is there was a Methodist church and a Baptist church. And the Methodists started dancing, so the Baptists burned their church down. That's 4 different cemeteries in the area have that.
We had a real hard time like making like any kind of investigation because I was like, okay, I want to like do the history and the videos and all that. But like the first 4 places we ever did all had the exact same history. It's like the Methodists, they like to dance. The Baptists, they like to footloose them to death.
Yeah. I don't know why that's a thing here, but
It is.
like we have a bunch of the like Native American battles that happened and stuff, and it's interesting when you found out that happened there. But why would a cemetery be haunted? Like if it's just a cemetery, that's always been my.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason for a cemetery or a mortuary to be haunted. It's just because
no one dies there.
Yeah. But like I said, I kind of changed my opinion about like as far as logic wise because it is like one of the oldest areas and
I guess it depends. I guess on the cemetery, how much history was on it and things like that.
I mean, we've done a dozen cemeteries and only one of them
had anything.
And really, it's not even the cemetery; it's the lot behind the cemetery. Yeah. So it's just nuts.
I really don't think most cemeteries are anything. People just find them creepy, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's just people's, like, natural, like, fear.
Mortality?
Their idea of mortality makes them kind of think of it.
I do want to do the ones in New Orleans, though.
I'll do...
That would be, like, the one place where I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Let's do those cemeteries.
See, those would be haunted because of all the voodoo rituals that go down in there.
Yeah.
We would have to take Elena with us.
Uh-huh. We'd have to take a practitioner of voodoo.
Yeah. She steals graveyard dirt on a regular basis.
I love her. I love her stealing graveyard dirt for voodoo ritual stories.
We need to get her on the show too at some point, so because she's got so many just crazy. Speaking of, okay, so what's the like craziest thing that's just like happened on an investigation to you? Like what is your most solid piece of evidence or experience or whatever?
You know what's funny? I think it literally brings me back to Waverly, where we actually caught something walking across in the screen, and you could see it like.
Oh, you got an apparition on video?
Yeah. Cool. I think I sent it to you, didn't I?
No.
I sent you the YouTube link.
No, I'm not cool enough.
Send it to me.
I could have sworn I did.
No. No, because you know I'll probably just shit all over it. That's typically my MO.
Send it to me, I won't.
If you can explain it away, that I am open, because we were the only ones on the floor, and we were walking down the hall. So we had the one person filming. He was ahead of us, and behind him, and then he's like, he didn't even tell us like he saw anything. He was like, can you guys run ahead and check all the rooms and see, what the hallway leads down to? And we checked all the rooms, and we noticed that like if you kept walking down, it was a dead end. So if someone was walking, there was no way for them to like leave without like crossing paths with us. So we checked all the rooms, we checked the hallway, we, reached the dead end, and we're like, what's up? Did you see something? And he's like, I think I actually caught something, like on the camera. We're like, okay. So we wound the tape while we were there, and literally you could see just like up ahead, just like this thing, just like, shadow kind of like, like walking across into one of the other, like walked from the wall to the other room. And we're like, okay. We're like, that was really weird.
The only apparitions we've got have been in still photos. I've got the one shadow that's in the video, but it's really suspect. It's either a demon or a bush. Like, it could be either one.
Photos are where we get. And it's always the photos before the investigation.
Yeah. During the daytime, too, yeah.
Well, this was that night we were on, like, I think the 4th floor. So
that's cool. I've always wanted to get one. Because we've been on investigations where we've seen. That was pretty interesting. I mean, I've had, like, a lot of personal experiences in other locations, but, like, I never got to catch it. So,
right.
Things that, like, I found profound that, like, we actually caught was probably that. Something that I experienced firsthand was in Fort Mifflin in Pennsylvania. We were actually taking a break, and so we were all sitting on these cots, and I could literally feel and hear breathing on my neck. And what's weird is we were in one of the underground bunkers, so there's no windows or ventilation. It's like really hot, and there's no real air kind of coming through. And I could just hear and feel like heavy breath on the back of my neck. And the guy sitting next to me actually was, and I didn't say anything, so I was like, I'm going to wait to see if like anyone else hears this or, and the guy sitting next to me, he was our camera guy, he like threw down his camera. He's like, do you freaking hear that? He's like, I'm like, what? He's like, the breathing, it's right freaking behind you. And I'm like, yes. I'm like,
awesome.
I'm like, I feel it. I'm like, it's weird.
I quit.
So
Their group's cooler.
They have better. I'm telling you, they have better places to investigate.
I know. Texas sucks.
Well, I also live in the middle of nowhere, Texas.
Yeah. What's your proudest like debunk? Where like, I mean, I think everybody's got one of those where everyone's sure that it's this thing or whatever, and you take like the extra steps, and finally you figure out that weird noise is actually this very specific board that you step on or whatever. Do you guys have one of those?
I think it's all the ones where I found out it was all electrical. Where I'm like, I think it's
that's a cop-out. Those are easy to find. It's always electrical. Although I think my favorite one is at that one person's house where she's heard the wall buzzes. And there's a buzzing in the wall.
Switch on, the wall buzzes.
Yeah, she had like a remodel going on, and I like flipped a switch, and she's like, there it is. And I'm like, you mean when I do this? Well, no, it's not like that. I'm like, yeah, it is. Your Ventahood's broken.
Hold on, the audio recording at Burlington Prison. Is that when I went with you guys? Okay, I see you, Taz. Was it the one that I went before going with you? So I did catch a weird EVP at Burlington Prison, where I forgot what question. I think I asked, like, if they were innocent. And, oh yeah, one of my EVPs was like, oh, are you innocent? Because I read, like, a passage that this prisoner had wrote on the wall, and it seemed like they were, like, almost, like, kind of telling, like, hey, I was innocent and I was brought here. So I asked it, and right after I asked it, you just hear, like, plain as day, like, someone on the recorder saying yes. And I was like, oh, okay. And usually when I do EVPs, I have the headphones on so I could try to hear all the stuff on real time. So that was, with you guys? I don't think I remember. This is when we walked past the... Oh, okay. This was actually a time where we debunked something at Burlington, the same place too. It was funny. So we were walking around and we kept hearing voices, like, clear as day. We're like freaking out 'cause we're like, we're the only ones here. Like, who could this be? And we debunked the fact that they actually had a motion trigger sensor that, like, because it's a museum, so it was like trying to, like, mimic the sounds of, like, what the jail was like, you know, with the prisoners and everyone talking.
That's convenient. I like the antique store we went to in Jefferson, where we were in that group, and there were like 3 or 4 other, like, paranormal investigators, like, on the tour or whatever. And they all went to the back, and they're like, yeah, we got sounds on our recorder.
Because there was a karaoke bar?
Yeah, and then we went back there, and we're like, yeah, we're getting sounds too, but it sounds an awful lot like the karaoke bar next door. And then everybody was just like, oh, y'all are no fun. Like, come on, man. Call it like you see it.
I like the girl that shut the door on that one, and we caught it on video. Because she scared the crap out of everybody. And it was just a ghost walk.
Yeah,
but you had the tape rolling, and we had to, like, slow it way down to catch her foot walking through the door.
Well, and even when we did that, like, half the people in the group, like, they saw the person go in the room and close the door. They're like, that person wasn't in our group. Come on, dude. She's wearing
making out with her boyfriend in the back.
She's wearing, like, knee-high boots and, like...
That is a modern-ass ghost.
Yeah. Damn, I had a great question, and it just, like...
I don't believe you. I don't think you had any question.
You have any questions? We asked you a bunch of questions. Do you have any questions for us? Because you sought us out.
Yeah, I did. I don't know. I know everything about you guys already.
Oh, okay.
We're super boring.
We are, and we haven't done a whole lot of investigations lately. We actually don't have another investigation lined up until, like, March. The couple of, like, things that we got through, like, email or whatever kind of, like, fizzled out. So we're probably just gonna do some, like, random lives or something.
See, I took my daughter out to Alton Bridge for Christmas. Like, she wanted to go on a ghost hunt. We did that.
That was fun.
That was fun. I mean, it was goofy, but yeah, it turns out. So we did go back there. Was it late October?
It was the next week.
Oh, yeah, we went back, and turns out, like, a couple weeks after you were here, a kid jumped off that bridge and died. Like, they have a big...
what?
Yeah. There's a big memorial out there now. Like,
oh my god. Like a week after we went?
Yeah.
It was, like, right after that, yeah.
And what's funny is, like, we were out there doing some investigation or whatever, and then, of course, like, some other teenagers showed up to do investigating. And they were talking, they're like, yeah, the person jumped off the bridge, blah, blah, blah. And we thought they were talking about the original history of the bridge.
Yeah.
And so I'm, like, out there correcting them, and they're like, no.
No, like last week.
No, like last week. Somebody just, like, died. Like, they jumped in the water. And I was like, holy crap. And we went up there, and, yeah, that memorial was there.
Yeah, they have a memorial.
I was like, that's nuts.
That's so crazy.
And then I felt really weird about investigate because they're like, oh man, they just died.
Yeah,
Like,
it was a
It's
little
like
awkward.
too soon. It's too soon. Well, what is too soon?
Taryn says, what is the most compelling evidence to you for an afterlife?
to me,
I don't know who that's to.
Oh, that's for you guys. That's for you guys.
Oh, okay. What is the most compelling evidence to me for an
A
afterlife?
human afterlife?
I guess so, but I'm borderline atheist. I don't. It would have to be like some sort of like an intelligent response that's like directly talking about it. Like it doesn't have to be.
Have we gotten any compelling evidence to you of an afterlife?
No, that's what I was saying earlier. Is like all the intelligent responses we've gotten don't seem human. Like as far as like a human afterlife. I mean, do I think it's possible that your consciousness like still like lingers around or whatever? Yeah, but I don't think like in that same form like what people think is like you wander around aimlessly. I don't think it's like that. There hasn't been any evidence, but I mean, as far as like convincing to me, it wouldn't have to be scientific. I mean, that's what we're looking for is scientific evidence or progression. But as far as like convincing for me, it wouldn't have to be scientific, but it would have to be something really specific to me, like
Profound.
well, it would have to be like an intelligent response from like somebody I know that has passed with very, very specific information so that it's confirmed to me. Like that's a really tough question because it would have to be something like very specific to me to show me that like people keep going on after they die. But as far as like generic evidence, anything that we've and I do think there are paranormal things, but I don't think human ghosts are. Yeah, I don't think human ghosts are a thing, or not in like a conscious form, not like what people think of when they say ghost. And then I think there are paranormal things that are intelligent, but I don't think they're human. And everybody jumps to demon. I don't like that one because that has religious connotation. I'm more comfortable with saying it's like interdimensional or like something we don't understand or parallel or. I don't know. It makes me sound like a nut job, but I'm really not crazy. I don't think it's like super plausible.
Okay.
What about you?
I don't believe
I
in an
can
afterlife.
almost like see the interdimensional.
But what would
aspect
change
of
your
it.
mind about an afterlife, Sarah?
Like you said, I would need someone like a family member that has passed away to walk up and just straight up like poke me.
Yeah, and it would have to be real enough that it's not a hallucination. Like there'd have to be another witness too, or else I would assume it's a hallucination.
Yeah, it can't be like a dream or something because I would assume that was grief driven.
Because there've been so many cases where people swear up and down like a certain thing has like happened, and then we've proven to ourselves and other people several times how real an experience can be, even though it's not physically
real, yeah.
not physically. I mean, well, because Sarah's got sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not now, but
Sometimes.
yeah, but you used to have it very, very frequently, and it's physically frightening. Like
it's terrifying.
It's happening, even though it's not really happening. And people feel like, and they're like, well, if it comes up and touches me and it's tactile or it's like super specific, man, you can go on this like entire other world tangent and it's all completely real, but it's all just in your head.
Well, that's too. I get ghost sensations on my bad arm from the nerve damage. So I figure a lot of people might construe something like that for being touched. But, it's always on the arm with nerve damage. So, But, yeah, I need something real in your face.
I've had instances where I felt like, or I've been woken up because I thought I was, like, touched or grabbed. I even got tested. I don't have nerve damage. I got the needles prodded and poked on me.
I have had stuff like that happen when I was a kid, like when I thought my house was super haunted. But like now looking back, like I know it felt very valid at the time. I can't go back and I'd like to go back with it and analyze it with the skills and the mind I have now, but I'm not there. I can't. Because
Yeah.
I'd like to know, because it still feels very valid. Like those
Yeah,
things
and the
happen.
fact that and just like the house that she invested, like the way the wiring is and the high EMFs and all that, a lot of that could be extreme.
It's funny because
Could
Patrick
take
said,
it.
what about
Yeah.
giving family a code word so that when you pass, it's them. We've already done the code word. Armadillo.
You're not supposed to tell everyone. Now we gotta come up with a new code word, which we agreed on: banana hammock.
Well, now I know that one.
Oh, armadillo was a safety word.
Shut up. That has nothing to do with our paranormal group. Why are you telling everybody our
That
safe
was
word?
a joke.
Um,
Until you made it real. Oh my god.
no, it's just awkward.
Well, see, I've also come in like when like dealing with stuff with the parent. I've also worked with a lot of kids that have had experiences, or like,
kids see the creepiest shit.
Say things to me that were it actually kind of makes you question like whether or not there is more. Like I've met kids where they'll be in a house for the first time and playing with their friend, and the friend will be like, oh, I'm scared to go to the bathroom to the basement, and the kid's like, why? It's just your grandpa. And not knowing like what the grandpa looks like, whatever, can point out who it is in the picture, like, yeah, that's him.
See,
And
I
it's
want to
just
do
like,
psychological
Kids see
testing
and
on
say
kids,
creepy things.
but people get all up in arms when you're like, hey, I want to do experiments on your kid.
I'll offer
Yeah.
mine.
Well, because I've done a lot of like mentoring and stuff. Like I've mentored a paranormal teen group where it was like kids ranging from like 12 to 16. I've also just known kids who I guess like kind of make you like especially as a nanny and babysitter. Like I used to watch this one girl who some nights she would be okay going to bed, and then other nights she'd keep like screaming about seeing stuff, which is normal for kids, but she specifically always talking about seeing this like girl with the cherries. And we ended up finding out that who she was seeing was really like her grandmother who had passed that she'd never met. And the way they found that out was because the mom actually had a dream of her mother handing her a handful of cherries. And the little girl would also wake up every year the day that the grandmother died. And this girl's only 5. She doesn't know when the grandmother died. But she'd wake up the same day every year screaming that the girl with the cherries was gone.
Yeah.
So it's like little instances like that. I've had experience with my own daughter that like I can't, explain ever since she was like, before she was even born. When she was still in the womb in her nursery, like the fan light would go spinning and the lights would turn on or the door would open and close and things like that.
What are your thoughts on doing paranormal investigations at your own house? Like, there was a time like like a lot of people would be like, oh, I should do this at our house, and we were telling them, you probably don't want to do that if you're not really dedicated to it, because you're not gonna like the results sometimes. But I think as you get more experienced with it, like I don't care about doing stuff here or whatever. But I was just curious, like, what your thoughts were on it. Like,
I've gotten back and forth about it, and I don't think I would ever really hold like an investigation per se, but more like I've had like our team medium come kind of like walk through, give me like her impression of what was happening, just because I wanted to know her opinion, and more in the lines of like helping my daughter, because there'd be times where my daughter would say something was hurting her, or she'd see things that would really scare her, and it got to the point where she was really annoyed that like you could almost hear in her voice like she was getting aggravated, that like she would be pointing to something like it's right there, and she couldn't understand that we can't see. She's only 3. And so, like, turning 4, so she like would get aggravated the fact that like we're not. She's like, it's right there, can't you see it? It's like, no, we can't, like, I can't see what you're saying. I can't see what you're experiencing.
No, you're crazy. You're going to the hospital. You're why mommy and daddy drink. No. That's not how you deal with it.
It's one of the instances, like, I would do things, I would do anything to try to ease my daughter's mind, then kind of open doors, I guess, with an investigation to make it scarier.
Have you guys ever found that your investigations have actually, like, increased activity or increased the perception of activity anywhere? That's the main thing that, like, a lot of our clients are worried about when we first go in.
Oh, yeah, if we come out, it's going to stir it up.
Yeah. Hey, have you all had any experience with that actually happening?
I don't think I've ever seen an increase in activity from, like, going to some place. I mean, whether or not something can follow you back, I like, the things that I've experienced personally, or, like, in my house, I don't think has changed because when I was, actually, when I was pregnant and I wasn't investigating at all and I stopped, I had more activity going on in the house than when I was. So.
Well, that's just because I think spirits are attracted to hormones.
Affects the other.
I just think pregnant people are crazy in general, so.
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming up on a lot of time, so you got any interesting questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Nothing? She's not interesting enough for you?
Oh, my God.
I found us a great guest for the show, and you're just like, nope, nothing.
I hate you.
Nothing. Nope. Oh, what are you guys investigating next?
We're doing Yoakum Hospital. I think which that's happening in March 22nd.
Yeah, so far we don't have anything planned between now and then.
Yeah, mostly right now I'm working on past investigations because we just did we just released the pilot episode that actually ended up being the Needful Things episode on Amazon. And episode 2 is supposed to be the Hood County Jail, but we have had so many technical problems. Like the first investigation we did there, we had cameras crap out on us in a specific, like, a couple of times, and I pretty much blame that on I didn't prep the equipment right. That's usually the first place I go. But then on the second investigation, same thing happened again, but with different equipment. And then on this last one, we're like, all right, we're pulling out all the stops, we're using all the cameras, everything, and our CCTV, our DVR, the hard drive on it degaussed itself, which is not 100% physically impossible, obviously, because it happened, but that's really freaking hard to do. And so we lost like 32 hours of footage. So I'm trying to kind of like piece that whole investigation together and get all that. So right now I'm working on actually editing together investigations we've already done into the new format for Amazon. But the next physical investigation is in March, which we're going down to
so far.
Yeah. I mean, anything could pop up. And then there's a few places we want to go back and revisit. And then, of course, there's the movie theater in Lake Worth, which I need to get a hold of that guy.
And you guys could always come to Jersey.
God, if traveling wasn't so expensive, I'm perfectly willing to go anywhere. But unfortunately,
I could drive straight there.
The paranormal investigation thing doesn't, pay for my house. So, I have to work, a normal, boring job that doesn't, afford me a lot of time to travel. So
actually, I have a question for you guys. How do you prepare for an investigation, and how do you go about? So, like, for us, the longest thing that takes the most time is setting up. And I want to know how, what do you guys do to prepare beforehand, or is setting up takes as long as it takes for us?
It takes forever.
Right? Okay, so it's not just us.
Well, I mean, as far as prep, the day, from the time that we've booked the investigation or whatever to that. Like I might do a little bit of research, but you guys all go in as a blank slate, or as much of a blank slate as possible, because I kind of the same way we don't want anybody, because we do a lot of psychological survey stuff in our group to like see what our psychological state is going in. So usually only one of us, and it's usually me because I'm usually the one that's coordinating that part of it, will know any of the history at all. But I actually try to avoid looking any of that stuff up. As far as the setup, all the setting up equipment, like that can take up to an hour and a half, 2 hours, something, depending on what tests we're going to run. If it's a really like big location, there's basically 8 cameras we have to set up, plus handhelds, plus we got to sync all the audio recorders, and then we got to kind of walk the floor and plan out like what we're gonna try where. But we've actually been able to get that time down, because since we've kind of divvied out what everybody's jobs are and kind of standardized the procedure for the experiments. I mean, Sarah could walk into any place and she knows automatically that she's going to be carrying a body recorder, and she's going to do the same procedure in every single room of the house or whatever. And so the setup time is gone. It's mostly just them standing around waiting on me to set up cameras is really all it is. And then we get the live going, and then we get started, and then we just kind of wing it from there most of the time. We don't usually get to take snack breaks, because nobody in our group brings snacks.
Sometimes we get sour candy and gummy candy before we go.
Sometimes me and your dad go to Chick-fil-A and leave you in the haunted place all by yourself. That is one of the things that we do. Me and you were messaging back and forth about that, because you had watched the episode and you're like, she was like, is it standard procedure for you to just leave somebody by themselves all the time?
Yes.
And I was explaining, that is actually a legitimate experiment.
And horrifying.
So you guys don't do that at all? Like,
we've done it, I think, maybe twice. I think Burlington County, we had left, I think it was Paul by himself, down in one of the cells while we were upstairs. So we'll do it a couple of times. But I feel like it's so hard, like, if something does happen, it's so hard to, like, dictate whether it's, like, your own psychological, like, that fear.
Right,
like,
and that's what she was worried about, is the exact thing that we're doing it for.
To make us ramp up and get anxious?
To make you.
Right. Well, because there's two schools, there's two reasons behind it. One is we can show, hey, stuff happens when you're all ramped up and having, like, a mental breakdown in a place you think is haunted.
But won't that affect, like, the rest of the investigation, like, after that alone time? Like,
well, we usually do it towards the end, and then we give that person a break for a while to, like, kind of calm down.
Because we did that at the beginning of that investigation, and we didn't do that intended. We were just hungry. Like, we'd already had a long day. Because I actually came out to him after that, and I said, I'm ruined for the rest of this. Like, nothing I say is valid. This whole thing is just... It was a little while after that, I was finally like, okay, I think I'm chill now. But I admitted that real fast.
I would say it is better to do it at the end. Like, if you were going to do an isolation.
Sometimes, but I think it can go the other way too. I think you can do it at the beginning, and that person's like physical testimony isn't so reliable, but you can still coordinate the things you think you're experiencing with a recorder or the video camera.
Our question was, does anxiety actually make our instance of recordable data go up?
Right, and that was the other side of that double-edged sword too, because almost every experience that you hear from people, they're like, oh, I was home, no one was home with me, or I was doing this by myself, and this thing happened. And is somebody that's like really rooted in science, it's my knee-jerk reaction to say, well, you were by yourself, you were scared, it's psychological. But who's to say that kind of emotional response doesn't provide that emotional energy that's needed for an actual paranormal event? Because there's this real problem in the current field of study where you either want to say somebody's crazy or it's paranormal. But why can't it be a combination of both? Like, why can't somebody who has emotional responses or is mentally... Like, why can't a schizophrenic person wander into a haunted house and have a legitimate experience. Yeah, they're schizophrenic. It doesn't make their it could be in their head. But, if I really was like an intelligent entity that liked terrorizing people,
that's who I'd terrorize.
That's who I would terrorize, because no one would ever believe them. And so that's the point of the equipment and the third-party observers and all that. So we try to put one of us into that headspace during the investigation to elicit that response.
Have you guys ever investigated a place or a person where the only times there was activity was during an emotional response?
Yeah, well, yeah. Most of those are that would be like our residentials, and it's almost always the ones where they don't want us talking about it. But I'm trying to think of a specific example.
I don't think there is one, because a lot of times, though, we find out later that something was going on in the home. Like, they might say, I woke up and saw something, so you're going to assume they were calm right then. But then we'll find out later there was something. So it was sort of a heightened emotional time, and, after that it sort of dies down.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if they're experiencing more because they're stressed out, or there's more things to experience because they're stressed out.
Yeah.
I mean, I can think of two specific instances. And I don't think either of those people would want us really talk. Okay, so how can I talk about this generically? So there's this one residential case that we did, and I know the person personally, and they've suffered head trauma. First off, that's not an instant thing, but it does make a little bit of it kind of questionable, because it was a head trauma that kind of changed their personality to an extent. Okay. So, they were more like excited, like more open to believing that sort of thing. And so kind of everybody else we talked to in that investigation was really, really doubtful about it. And they were only open to us really coming in to doing that because they knew we were kind of straightforward and would shoot her straight. Like, we wouldn't make stuff up and make it worse. Sort of thing. And there was some interesting stuff that kind of happened on that investigation, and she had actually captured some interesting
it wasn't
evidence on her own. Like, it wasn't
her.
straightforward, but it was always centered around her. And it was always this like emotional thing, like that. Like, when I would get like the text, it was always this just like huge
excitable
deal. Yeah. And so I have big questions about whether or not that was actually paranormal or kind of caused by her own thing. And then the
other one I can think of is there was something going on with the couple in the house. And we found that out through talking to the client, that things had been bad for her.
Oh yeah, I did. Because there was so there was this one client that we did, and it was real weird how we ended up getting that case, because it was like through somebody else, like trying to impress them or something. But we found no evidence of any kind of paranormal anything. But as we just kind of kept like talking about the things that were going on, we found out there was this real nasty divorce and kind of like a custody thing going on. And I was like, okay, well,
it's actually one of my favorite clients, because it was fun just talking to them. But,
yeah, she was super nice.
It was an interesting, but yeah, so...
And she wasn't crazy, like, she wasn't nuts. I just think a lot of it stemmed back to that.
Yeah, she was very
issue.
chill about the whole thing.
I was actually thinking about...
You can tell me later. Oh. Well, okay, but...
would she be mad if we...
No, I do think... so my growing up, we had that house I said I thought was haunted. The thing was, when my mom and stepdad were going through some hard times, things did increase in that house. When everyone was sort of on high alert, things did kind of get worse. And then after my stepdad moved out, like, things magically got better. Like, not all the way better, but yeah, I've always wondered about that one. So did it make more stuff happen, or did it make everybody anxious?
But I mean, in our own study, every time we've And we've taken it like another step, not just the leaving somebody alone and making them anxious.
No, they send someone to scare you.
Yeah, usually like I'll go screw with them. Like when we did the Arlington Visitor Center, was it, you were in the
It's always me.
You were in the haunted bathroom, and I went and banged on the door.
My dad grabbed my ankle when I was going up the ladder in that cabin.
Oh my God, that was the best. That was the absolute best.
I said a really bad word in front of my dad.
I know. I love that, and he laughed so hard.
They pick on me.
But it's not just you. I did stuff to Kristen too, and Allie. It's usually you, but it does heighten that experience. Like after one of us gets that ramped up, like we've absolutely proven that when somebody gets that ramped up and scared, like at least for the next hour, everything is something. Like every little noise is, oh my God, or whatever. And we've also in those instances captured more
EVPs at least.
More stuff. So the kind of idea that higher emotional energy could actually fuel God damn you, Sarah. Could actually fuel paranormal. I mean, there is something to it. But when people say, "Oh, increase the EMFs in the room," that one I've seen no correlation at all. Higher EMFs don't equal more legitimate paranormal activity. It's just always equaled Sarah gets really sick or people get depressed or feel paranoid.
Yeah.
But not necessarily more EVP, no tangible evidence because there's more EMF.
Okay.
So I'm fine with the idea of higher energy makes paranormal, just not higher electrical energy.
Or flipping on that fight or flight center of your brain makes you more perceptive, and you're naturally picking up on things that the recording is just picking up on.
Yeah.
Your senses improve.
Yeah, that is something we looked at a lot, is like the way your amygdala works. So when you get really scared and you get that adrenaline rush,
your pupils dilate, you can see in the dark better.
And time like slows down for you because your brain's firing so much faster. Like you really do get superpowers when that happens. So it could also be not necessarily that you're more excitable or more more gullible because you're in a heightened state. It's that you're actually more acutely aware of your surroundings at that point. So it's an advantage on one hand, and then it's a disadvantage for like your credibility because you can't be trusted anymore. So there is method to the madness. It's not just that.
I think that started out just as you picking on
the very first time. It started out as a complete accident when you were wired up.
The first time you did it was at your sister's house when I was leaned back against that.
Oh, that was just hilarious.
I didn't think it was a door. I thought it was a wall, and you stuck your hand through it. The second time was when I had a spinal stimulator in my back, and the cord was coming to the outside because it was a test. So I've got this control hooked up to my spinal cord. And we're out doing a ghost hunt, and we're at like a tabernacle with like the benches and the roof like for a cemetery, and he just takes off running.
It scared me.
And I thought, well, if he is running, I should also run. But my cord stuck to the bench, and when it stretched taut, it electrocuted me. And I thought the monster had me. I thought it had me and it was going to kill me. I thought it had me and I was dead.
Couldn't stop laughing.
It was awful.
That sounds awful.
No, it was great.
It wasn't that bad.
She loves it. It was awesome. We even wrote about it in our book. It was so great. I don't know. I can't think of anything else, and we're getting really close to wrap up time.
Yeah.
So, it was good having you. Oh, I know the number one question: why do y'all spell unseen the way you do?
You have to ask Taryn.
We're going to need a response on that, Taryn.
Yeah, Taryn. Did you just misspell it and now you're just,
You're stuck with this now?
Writing it? Or... Well, because originally we were North Texas Paranormal, and then somebody's like, hey, that's our name. And we're like, all right, then we're NTParanormal. Whatever. Like, I'm so lazy, and then it stuck. And now the North Texas Paranormal team, they're so mad because we're so much higher in the rankings than they are. And they're just like, this is bullcrap. Whatever, dude. I don't care.
Do you have well, we've discussed this before with, like, teams being territorial.
Oh, my God. It's like the Sharks and the Jets out here. The first time we went to Alton Bridge, we ran into like a rival group, and then there's somewhere else. Where did we go where there was just this like whole other group?
What's funny is I didn't get at first that they were being like territorial. Like I thought we were just being nice, and they were just snippy, and I couldn't figure out why. I was like, "What did
They're
we
just
do?"
like, "Why are you out here with like all your equipment and stuff?" We're out here with our static detectors. I'm like, what's that stupid thing that's beeping and making lights? Y'all look like idiots. And like so before we got into paranormal investigation, I didn't realize just anybody was allowed to do it. I went out and like I'm talking to other people and they're like, well, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm like a mechanical engineer and I put this like this is what this test does and stuff. I'm like, what do you do? They're like, oh, I work at Kroger and I bought this camera with a beeping thing online and it says there's ghosts. And I was like, so like
there's no one policing this?
Like literally anybody can just say they're a paranormal investigator expert? Yeah. Oh God. This is horrible. Yeah, there's like I get a lot of people asking, they're like, where did you go to school to be a paranormal investigator? That's not a thing. It's not, no. I'm like I'm and so I don't even,
I hate when people are like, I've had 30 years of experience, and I'm like, really? I'm like, but have you actually ever taken apart the equipment that you use, or try to figure it out, or see? I'm like, or do you just think everything's paranormal?
Well, I mean, like, to be fair, none of us have a leg up on anybody, because anybody that says they've done anything for 30 years and not like reach their goal, that usually constitutes failure. So if you think of every paranormal investigator ever that's never got any like hard evidence, like you did this for 30, like what if you were like,
well, no, these people believe they've got hard evidence. This is the thing, and then that they just think they're like up there. But
that's not how evidence works.
Like,
that's not how any of this works.
No.
No, but I'm in no way experienced to be a paranormal investigator, but we do other things.
I don't even have technical skills.
Yeah, you're just kind of there. I'm not sure why we keep taking you places.
In case one of y'all gets hurt.
You need her heightened emotions.
No, she has so much freaking medical training. Because like she's like, no, your heart rate's just high. That's why you feel dizzy. Stop being an idiot.
That's important.
She also knows all the locations of all the back roads and cool places to go to.
That is my one skill. I know where things are.
Knower of things, drinker of wine. I don't know. Okay, so thanks for coming on the show. We'll have you on again, and we won't just ramble. Maybe next time we have you on, we'll have like a cohesive topic. I just wanted to kind of introduce you to everybody and get you guys some kind of exposure.
If we do a Jersey Devil show, we gotta have her on.
Yeah. I was gonna make a whole bunch of cracks about trying to find the Jersey Devil, but I don't even know what the Jersey Devil is.
X-Files busted that the first season. Call back to X-Files.
God dang!
It was a feral human.
Freaking burn. I wanted to start watching the X-Files the other day, but it's not on Netflix anymore, and it made me sad.
I have them all on VHS.
Okay, do you have any websites or books or anything you want to plug while you're on?
Just find us on Facebook on UnScene. We're actually going to be doing a live investigation tomorrow at Shanley Hotel.
Okay.
So, just then.
I'm gonna get on that, and I'm gonna comment and heckle the hell out of them.
If I'm back from Caitlin's thing tomorrow.
What kind of snacks are you planning to bring?
They've already given me a grocery list.
See, that's bullcrap. If my group ever did that to me, be like, you better bring.
I'm bringing Snickers, Reese's peanut butter cups, chips.
You can't bring chocolate things on investigations in Texas.
Oh yeah, it would just like, hey, why is my pocket gooey? So what's your website? It's I know you have your Facebook page, and it's UnScene, and the way it's spelled is UNSCENE for whatever reason.
UnScene Paranormal.
Yeah. Do you guys have like a regular website or a way to get a hold of y'all or anything?
We recently changed it to UnScene Network because we want to work with a bunch of other teams and investigators and film them. It's not just about us. It's just getting out there and filming.
Yeah, I saw your presentation at the that expo or convention or whatever you guys were doing. Y'all were talking about all the different people you've networked with. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Like, you know, and that's how, and it's funny because these conventions and expos are how we meet the people that we call them collaborators, not our teammates, collaborators, because they're on other teams. That's how we met these people, and, you know, it's been so much fun, like, you know, just picking a place, investigating. It's, you got a good group.
I like that y'all do that.
Oh, yeah, like we were talking, you know, all these teams are like territorial or whatever, and there are a couple of teams that we bash basically because they're jerks to us first.
But we have tried to network with other groups.
As a matter of fact, one of the teams that we were it turned out we just had a problem with the one person in that team, and we made friends with everybody else in that team. And I still talk to Eric constantly, you know, and we share data back and forth. There are a couple of local teams that like we've worked with and we get along with, and then there's the ones that people don't like to be told that they're wrong. And we try not to tell people that they're wrong, but sometimes, you know, they capture something and we're like, well, it could actually be these other two things. Like, you have to consider this if you're being honest with yourself. And they get mad. They get pissy about it, and then they don't want to work with us anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that happens over here. That happens with us a lot of the time. We'll try to, like, they'll show us a picture and we're like, yeah, but it's really this that's coming through our... And they're like, no, it's really an orb. And no.
We've been really lucky in that a lot of the people that send us like pictures or whatever, when we kind of explain what else it could be besides paranormal, they actually appreciate it. And they're like, no, that's cool. I'm going to keep trying to find something paranormal, even though this wasn't the...
how you approach it, too, and like how you approach people who...
Yeah, I am not personable at all. Like, I'm good at speaking to a room, but the bit, like, when they start asking me questions one-on-one, yeah, I'm not good at that part. That's why we keep you around.
Yeah, I'm diplomatic.
She's like, I'm the approachable one.
Actually, I think you're the approachable one.
We stick Allie out there.
Oh, God.
Oh, the one that didn't go on the ghost hunt with us, but yeah, she's friendly, though.
Yeah,
and an extrovert.
She's extrovert. I can pretend. I'm really good at pretending to be an extrovert.
I'm not.
But I can only do it for a little while.
Wait, are you guys doing an expo soon? I saw you guys posting something about
we've done the Granbury Paranormal Expo every year, and they got so big that they're not the Granbury Paranormal Expo anymore. They're moving to Will Rogers Coliseum in Fort Worth. And they're expanding it. They're calling it something else now, and they're expanding it out because it when we first started going, there were only like 30 vendors, something like that. And last time there were like 100 and something vendors.
And the square's just not that big in that little town.
The square's not big enough, so now it's up to like 200 vendors. I haven't decided if we're actually going to present at this one this year. But yeah, that's what I was posting about. They changed that, and then we usually do the Arlington Comic-Con and AW Perry. There's a couple of places where we do like presentations and stuff like that.
I don't think we have any coming up though.
No, those don't usually start cropping up till like September or October. It's
con season.
Mostly, well, for the paranormal stuff, it's mostly like the closer it gets to Halloween.
Yeah, October,
yeah.
September.
I don't know. But when are you coming down again? Do you know?
I think it might get a little pushed back. I think probably in April, May, and then I'll probably be back during the summer. So I'll be back multiple times. I can't be away from my parents for too long.
We'll have to do something on one of those.
Oh yeah, well we want to do the Hill House Manor one for sure. I was going to say if she actually comes down in March, we could take her down to the hospital, but that's basically kidnapping her for like half a weekend. Because that's 4 hours south of us. Like that's like at the border. So I don't know that you'd want to do that.
If you guys ever want to plan something big like that, like for a weekend, just let me know and I'll arrange it.
Okay. I'll give you the details in case you want to go on. Well, actually, you're on our event page for that. So,
yeah.
like, if that date works out, like, you could come with us if you wanted to.
I'll look into it.
But like I said, that like our accommodations are going to be weird on that one because it's like a legitimate abandoned building that we're like staying at, and I think we're all just going to split a hotel room and then like go sleep in shifts over the night or something. But yeah, we need to find some like more investigation. Like I am dying to go do something, and it sucks because I have like this big backlog that I need to go
had
through.
both my kids within 2 weeks of Christmas, so
yeah, like this time of year was rough. Like like December through January is just rough.
a nightmare.
Yeah. So we're actually in our downtime where we just do a lot of podcasts.
Okay.
Well, anyway, it was good having you on. Like I said, we'll have you on again when we actually have a topic, or like maybe if there's a case or something that we could all kind of like debate both sides of, and maybe just like tear each other apart on it, and cause controversy on the internet again. Oh, I actually released a new article yesterday. You need to go read it. You'll probably like it.
About the
flat earthers. Why flat earthers don't believe in ghosts. That's right up your alley. You might like that. I'm already getting hate mail. I think that's my new goal now, is like, what can I write to make people hate me?
I think that was your goal from the get-go.
Yeah, I'm kind of a jerk. All right, so
thanks for coming on.
Yeah, that's 2 hours, so we're gonna shut it down. Thanks for coming on. Anybody that wants to learn more about UnScene Paranormal or UnScene Paranormal Network, check them out on Facebook. They got a page and a group page.
We'll have to have you on our page as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm way better at answering questions than I am asking them, so I'm totally down for that.
Well, no, you had a good set of questions and everything, and everyone else did too.
We made it up as we went. That's usually how this rolls. And we're going to be podcasting again tomorrow since we missed out the last week. Oh, yeah, that's right.
We're not for sure yet.
We might be podcasting.
It's my daughter's birthday tomorrow, and we're taking her out to do some stuff, and I'm not sure what the timeline is.
And then after that, we might be talking about Satanism.
Maybe.
Okay. Maybe not. I don't know. Okay. So everybody have a good night, and we'll catch you guys again next week. Thanks, Heidy, for talking to us. And next time we'll have to have Taryn on, too.
Yes, when she's feeling better.
Yeah.
Hope you feel better soon, Taryn.
Yeah. Then you'll see how we work, because we always bump heads. But we love each other.
That's good, because I pretty much argue with everybody in my group, too. So. All right, bye, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did and you would like to know more about NT Paranormal and our research, please visit us at www.ntparanormal.com or our Facebook page at facebook.com/ntparanormal. You can also check out our book, After Dark Paranormal Investigations, True Cases of the NT Paranormal Team on Amazon.com, or find our articles in Paranormal Hauntings magazine. Before we go, we would also like to thank our supporters at Paranormal Hauntings Magazine, Paranormal Investigations Equipment, PIE, Ghost House Paranormal, the Granbury Paranormal Expo, and the Tyler Paranormal Conference. Until next time, everyone stay safe out there and stay open-minded.